our today's session, we'll be delivering on topic incident response in SOC via MITRE-ATT&CK framework. So we'll quickly go through all the contents that we'll be covering in today's session. We will start with introduction to Infosys Varutra incident response methodologies and techniques, followed by walkthrough on NIST SANS incident response frameworks, and to understand what are their definitions, exploring MITRE-ATT&CK framework, benefits of MITRE-ATT&CK framework, incident response use cases in line with MITRE-ATT&CK framework, followed by return on investment and conclusion and key takeaways. Before we start with our topic, just to give quick introduction about us. So basically, we are into providing expertise services into managed security services, virtual CISO, auditing and compliance, as well as pen testing services for infrastructure, web, and mobile applications. We are recognized by Gartner Top 10 list for VAPT and application security services, along with our flagship product MASTS. Varutra is a certain empaneled IT security organization. We are also ISO 2027001 2013 certified organization. We have also been featured in CEO magazines as Company of the Year 2018, as information security in information security consulting. We have also been listed in top 30 entrepreneurs of the year 2019 by Silicon Review. We have also been awarded as a gold winner in Cybersecurity Excellence Award 2021 as a category fastest growing cybersecurity company category. So starting with our today's session, the first point is regarding incident detection and response. So none of us are unaware about the seriousness of the cybersecurity concept or this industry. So data breaches can potentially affect customers' intellectual property, company time and resources, and most importantly, brand value. So it is very important to have an organized approach in addressing and managing the aftermath of the security breach or a cyber attack. So methodology an organization uses to respond to and manage a cyber attack plays a very vital role while addressing a cyber incident. So basically, goal is to handle the situation in a way that limits the damage and reduces recovery time and costs, so that if in case any cyber attack has already affected any organization, then it should not take much time for an organization to once again stand up and continue with their business. In this process, investigation is a very important key component in order to learn from the attack, so that we can prevent those similar types of attacks in future. So NIST is one of the well-recognized organization. We can say it's a non-regulatory federal agency of USA. So it gives definitions and best standards of handling an incident. How also it includes definitions of detection and response overall. So as per the definitions of NISTs, the first phase of incident detection and response process is preparation. So preparation is a very basic point for any of the we can say method or any process that we want to follow for. So preparation includes multiple things that includes disaster recovery plans and data backup, etc. Followed by there is detection and analysis, which is the second phase. For detection and analysis, it includes continuous monitoring of the internal network of the servers systems from any existing threats or existing events that is happening. So it is very important, first of all, to detect if any intrusion is happening in the organization. it is completely unacceptable that an attack is happening in an organization and organization is not aware about it. This is very serious situation. Therefore, detection is very important. So once it is detected, it is a role of the security consultant who is deployed in a project to deeply analyze those type of events and incidents. Followed by next step, that is containment. So basically, the next step is like after any threat or an incident is reported or identified, now it's time to isolate and to stop that particular attack from expanding or causing more damage to the organization. Followed by post incident recovery incident recovery activity. So basically this includes like after everything is on track, it's time to recover, it's time to resume the business, and uh, basically to once again learn from all the previous incidents, and we can also document this thing so that we cannot happen what we can do is so that this type of incident should not happen in future that can affect the organization's business. Next point is regarding SANS. So from here, I would like to inform that Purnima will be continuing. So I request Purnima to please continue.
Yeah, thank you, Shivang. So, good evening, everyone. Shivang has briefed you regarding the incident detection and response procedure in respect to NIST. So now we will see like how the SANS has described the procedure of incident detection and response. So it has break down the step-by-step procedure into 6 particular steps. So first is preparation, similar to NIST also. So here we will first prepare for different type of attacks. So for example, there are many categories of attacks that we are going to see on a day-to-day basis. It might be a data breach, it might be a ransomware attack, it might be a brute force attack, DDoS attack. There are different set of attacks. So we have to have an elaborated, detailed plan for each and every sort of attack. So that is the preparation stage. So coming to the identification stage, so once we got to know that any incident has occurred across our organizational network, so the next part what we have to do is we need to identify that what kind of attack has been identified on our organization. So that part comes under the identification stage. So post identifying, the next stage would be containment, wherein we have to stop that attack towards that particular infected equipment or infected device or a system. It should not laterally move across the network and infect more systems. So that is the major goal of containment stage, wherein we need to stop the attack from spreading it across the network. And next part would be eradication. Post containment, what we have to do is we have to eradicate that particular threat or particular malware, whatever it is, from that infected device. So that comes under eradication. After eradication, we need to recover that particular infected system to its normal operation. So how it was earlier, by rebooting the system, by deleting the infected files, by blocking the malicious traffic towards that particular infected device. So we can take the decisions based upon the malicious activity that has happened in the infected device. So that comes under the recovery. So last part would be the lessons learned. After doing all this, after performing all the processes, eradicating, recovering the infected device, we have got to know that this is, we will be knowing that this is why our attack happened. Maybe due to a vulnerability in the system, or maybe some employee opened a phishing email and that is why the attack has happened. Malware got infected to our system by browsing some malicious websites and all. So in the lessons learned part, what we can conclude is how this attack happened and what should be more aware of, so that in future we are not going to suffer with the same sort of attacks. So this is the basic incident response procedure any organization will be having. Shivang, next slide, please. Yeah, so here we can see in one liner that in the preparation stage, we can develop the policies based upon the organizational operations and procedures also, and to follow in case of any cyber security cyber attack happens. In under the identification stage, we are going to detect the type of the breach and enable the incident response plan immediately. under the containment stage, we are making sure that the damage is contained to that particular device or infected system only, and it doesn't spread further. In the eradication stage, we are going to neutralize the threat and restore the internal system as close as the previous state as possible. And under the recovery stage, we will validate that all the affected systems are no longer compromised, and then they can be returned to the normal operating procedures. Under lessons learned part, we are going to prepare a complete documentation of what all we have learned in all the stages, and then we are going to submit it for the management, or we can investigate it further, and we can strengthen our organizational network based upon the lessons learned from this incident. Okay, so now we will be learning how Mitre attack framework and incident response can correlate with each other and how well they can deliver security operations towards our organization. So before going to Mitre attack framework, so let me elaborate how an attacker mind always work. So suppose if an attacker wants to compromise my device, so he has to plan it. It is not like in one go he can compromise my system or compromise my laptop or mobile device. So he has to go through certain stages. For example, if he wants to infect my device with a phishing email, first he needs to figure out what is my email ID. So that is the first thing he need to do. So how he is going to get the access to my email ID? Then he need to go to my social engineering website. He might try to search for my email ID, and then he might deliver the phishing emails. So these are all the things that are going to happen at the pre-attack stage. So this is classified as a pre-attack category. So he has to do some research. He or she has to do some homework before trying to perform the attack. So similarly, after getting to know the details, then he will try to weaponize a malware. I mean, he will try to develop a malware based upon the requirements that he wants. So that is like stage by stage development of the attack. Like after this stage, the threat actor is going to perform this kind of techniques to make sure that the device is compromised. So what does Mitre attack do is it contains all these techniques and tactics that are actually observed on a real-time basis from most of the threat actors across the globe. So it is a globally accessible knowledge base, and it has like many tactics and techniques that are going to be used by the threat actors nowadays on a real world observation. The most recent attack techniques will also be there, and the techniques that have been used like past and more 50 years also, that also you are going to get the details in that knowledge base. So it contains the threat related data, and it also contains the specific groups. Like there are many ransomware groups, there are many threat actors group like Clop ransomware gang is there, Ryuk ransomware gang is there. So they will be having certain, over a period of time, they will be developing a pattern. Based upon that, they will be working. So based upon that, they will be performing the attacks. They might be like there might be some variations in performance of the attack, but most of the techniques and tactics will be used will be the same to previous types of attacks. So the Mitre attack database will be containing all the patterns, all the tactics, all the techniques that can be used by the attackers to perform the attack. So they have classified it into 12 tactical categories from the initial access to till this attack has been successful. So they have classified into 12 tactical categories, and this attack framework will is actually being used by many security industry vendors and also service providers to know about the tactics and techniques that are actually being used by the threat actors on a day-to-day basis. Shivang, next slide, please. So now we will correlate this attack for incident response, how this incident response can gain from the Mitre attack database. So first of all, we got to know that every organization will be having its own architecture model, such as they will be having their own incident response plan based upon their operations. So they will be having certain detection rules that will trigger an alarm whenever an incident occurs. So same process can be reversed by incident response team to detect what techniques the threat actor is currently using, and then we can speed up the determination process by knowing that how the attacker has penetrated our network, and then how they are actually moving towards the final objective. So now we will learn with the example like how they are going to start and all. So starting with the containment. So now we are at the incident response plan, and now we have reached the containment level. So we have detected the threat, and we are aware about the threat. This is the threat that has been caused in our organization, and now we are containing. So during the containment stage, what happens is we need to analyze what kind of threat is currently affected our organization. So that is the main job now once you have prepared, once you have initiated the incident response plan, once you have identified the incident, and now when you are at a containment stage, you need to analyze the threat that has occurred, that has occurred across your organization, and we need to analyze, make the proper analysis of that. So the next stage of the response plan is to investigate the nature of the threat and determine how it has infiltrated the environment, like what kind of attack they use, what kind of technique they have used to perform this attack. So in this stage, what happens, this at this particular stage, Mitre attack will be incredibly useful as a reference model. So we will see one example of how we can start with the containment. So for example, here we can see there are many different ways, many different tactics mentioned in the diagram. For initial access, you can see there is exploiting public facing applications, phishing. Through phishing, they can start the initial access. They can send a email, and then they can start with the initial access of having the access towards that victim system. So they are classified into different stages. So by using a Mitre attack matrix, the team matches techniques discovered to determine what stage of kill chain they are looking at. Consider, for example, we have got an incident or a alert that an attacker has attempted to brute force one of the privilege account. So somebody is trying to use the brute force attack method on our organization. So we have received a alert from the security solutions that we already have. So here we can see brute force is present in the credential access stage. So this brute force attack is present in the credential access stage. So now we can figure out that okay, fine. The attacker is already at this stage. He has already passed through all these stages. Now he is at credential access stage, and now he's trying to perform this brute force attack. So if we are new and if we don't know about the brute force, so we can check about brute force attack. So obviously, like we will be well aware about all the attack technique, but consider that attack technique is new and we are not aware of that. Once you click on that particular attack, it will display the result, like what is about the attack, what description of the attack and all. So we will see in the next slide. Once you click on the brute force, here it will give you the description. So adversaries or threat actors may use brute force technique to gain access to the accounts when passwords are unknown or password hashes are obtained. So it is like trial and error method from the attacker. He is trying to log in by using some combinations of passwords and user IDs. So this is about the brute force attack. So now we got to know that the attacker is at the credential access stage and he is using the brute force method to perform the attack. This is what we have learned from you by using the Mitre attack framework. Now what we can do is, as an investigator, we can work backwards from this tactical category of credential access to determine how the attacker has got into the system in the first place. So we can move to the initial access, like how what all the possible techniques he might have used to perform this attack. Uh, Shivang, next slide, please. Yeah. So coming to the threat actor profile. So now we have got to know that credential access and brute force attack are the two key categories that we are concentrating upon. So now what we can do is we can map this to tactics or techniques with our organizational operations. So we should also know like what is our organization, what are the operations that are being performed in our organization. So correlating this tactics techniques with the operations of our organization is called as nothing but the threat assessment. So based upon the mid-range threat intelligence on known APTs can be used to map observed behaviors to possible adversaries. That is, we can search for the threat actors who are going to use these techniques, that is brute force attack with the credential at the credential access stage. So these are the 2 points. We can search for the threat actors who are going to use these techniques in the mid-range attack database. So for example, here we can see the incident responders will also know what kind of business they are protecting. Obviously, we will the IR team will be aware of the operations of the organizations that we are protecting. So based upon that, we will map both of them and we will have the threat assessment. And now we will see, like, we will be having a list of threat actors who are going to use this techniques. And now we have to decide who is like more likely to perform the attack on our organization. For example, the attacker might be performing the attack to steal any confidential information of a customer or a client of our organization. So this is the consideration of that particular threat actor. But if we are not dealing with any customer or client information, then why will the actor will perform an attack on our organization? That should be there in your mind, because you why you should be aware of the operations is because we should know what is the major objective of the threat actor, what is the objective of the threat actor group, so that we can eliminate. If that is not the objective, then we can focus on the next threat attacker group. Okay, so now here we can see we have figured out that there is a threat actor group called as APT39, and they use this both techniques to perform the attack. And once we click on that APT39 group, we will get a number of techniques or the tools that they are using to perform the attack. So here are number of techniques like exec and pw dump, Windows credential editor. So they use this tools, or they use this techniques to perform the attack. So whenever you click on any threat actor profile, it gives the list of details or the tools that they might use to exploit the infected system. So coming to the threat actor profiles again. So each tool or technique cause an effect on the target system, usually resulting in the production of logs. So each tool will be producing its own logs. So for credential access techniques of brute force attack, list the threat actor groups performing this technique as shown in the shown in the figure. So here you can see we have both these things, credential access of brute force, and now we have the list of threat actors who are who have been engaged in both of these techniques. So here you can see APT39 is there, Chaos is there, Dark, Vishnya, Finfi. These are all threat actor groups. They are group of hackers who perform the attacks. So here we got the list of threat actor groups based upon only 2 observations that we have made during the containment stage. Now we have got to know that this is the threat actor. So APT39 might be the threat actor who is probably attacking our organization. So next we need to check for the techniques. So we need to, by looking at the APT39's list of knowledge known techniques, the following techniques can be investigated for their use within the organization infrastructure. So we got to know that it is APT39, and now we can search for the techniques that they are going to use. So these are the techniques they are using. Apart from this, there are many, but I have just taken the screenshot of some. So the APT39 might use this masquerading technique. They might use this network scanning technique. Here you can see the description also that APT39 has used CrackMap, SX, and a custom port scanner known as BlueTorch for network scanning. So previously this threat actor has used these kind of techniques. So it has listed out all the techniques that the threat actor has used previously. So now CSIRT team will look at the procedures and can use the intelligence from the long list of procedures to search for evidence. So we can use this list of techniques, and we can search for the evidences based upon the techniques used by the threat actors. So, for example, some adversaries may use PowerShell based 64 obfuscation for hiding the malware. So, in this, we can start looking for the kind of hidden data by knowing the method that has been used. So, we can detect it backwards by using the techniques that have been used by the threat actors previously. So now coming to finishing of the investigation, so we have got to know that APT-39 is performing an attack, that too using the credential access. So now currently they are at a credential access stage and they are performing using the brute force technique. So this is the thing that we have figured out. So we are already knowing the threat actor who has targeted our organization. What is the technique he or she is using? So now there is no meaning in going to find the evidences for any other techniques because they will not be existing because we have already figured out the evidence for the techniques. We have already figured out the evidences for the threat actor who is performing the attack. So now what happens is this cut shorts the investigation process. Now we are this process is not more time consuming. It is like already we have already determined by using the Mitre attack framework. So this is how it will be less time consuming instead of going through all the attack techniques, all the threat groups, and we searching for the evidences. If we are mapping our correlation to the Mitre attack framework, then we can save the time like at a more rate. Like it is very much useful for the IRT team to mitigate the threat in a very timely manner. So, by systematically working backwards, the incident response team can eventually determine how the attacker gained initial access. So, by going backwards, for example, the attacker was at a credential access stage, so we can figure out how he has actually gained the initial access to our organization by moving backwards and by examining the techniques that he has used. So also, it allows the IT team to patch or reconfigure the vulnerable points and stop future intrusions of this nature. So once we get to know the initial access point, like how they actually access. For example, they had sent a phishing email and one employee has opened it or one employee has downloaded it in a system and through that the system got infected. So next what we have to do is we need to educate the employees. That is the first and foremost thing. To improve our security posture of the organization, we need to we need to educate the employees regarding the phishing emails that are sending. We can also educate them that this is the scenario happened, so we need to be more careful while opening the emails. And also we can also deploy an antivirus or an anti-malware to detect such kind of files and block such kind of files. We can include the hash value of the malware also in our antivirus database so that in case if the same attack has been performed in our organization, that then it can be immediately blocked then and there itself. Okay, so next slide. Yeah, so now we will see certain use cases of Mitra attack framework. So first major thing we will see regarding the phishing email. So I gave you an example like what is a phishing email and how it is going to affect. But whenever if you want to search for a phishing email or the techniques or the recommendations that Mitre attack is going to give. So we can just search in the Mitre database for phishing email and it is going to give you certain details. So first of all, it will tell you like what is the phishing. So here it is stating that adversaries send phishing messages to gain access to victim system or any personal information. And then mails may contain malicious attachments or links which can redirect to some malicious website and typically to execute malicious code on victim system or to gather credentials or any personal details that are sent by the victims. So here the mitigations for this phishing emails are in accordance with the Mitre framework are first of all implementing a strong antivirus or anti-malware across the organization, which can automatically quarantine this kind of suspicious file or which can automatically clean up or delete such kind of files. And then next would be implementing network intrusion prevention system that can scan and remove any malicious email attachments or links and that can be used to block the activity. Also, the next point would be restrict web-based content. You can add certain rules and policies in your network security solutions. And the important point is educating the employees on the social engineering attacks, phishing attacks that are ongoing on a day-to-day basis. So next use case we will see regarding the network denial of service, that is called as DOS attack. So as per Mitre, adversaries may attempt to cause denial of service by directly sending a high amount of traffic towards the target. Like they might send some malicious or unwanted traffic towards the target, so that it will be out of reach, or it will be denying the service for the legitimate users. So it might use any protocol to do the flooding. So botnets are commonly used to perform this kind of attacks, that is denial or distributed denial of service attacks. So mitigations for this are usage of network throughput monitoring tools. So we can use network traffic monitoring tools to block unwanted traffic, or if we see any amplification of the traffic towards that target with no proper validation, then we can block such kind of traffic towards that particular target. So we can use the network monitoring tools in that case. So next use case would be external remote services use case. So here, Mitre defines it as adversaries may leverage external facing remote service to initially access and persist within the network. So here they might use certain point remote service as an initial access point, and then they can move across the organizational network. So here the mitigations would be disable or block remotely available service if not necessary. So that is the first point. And then limit access to the remote service through centrally managed VPNs and other managed remote access system. So whenever you're connecting to the VPN, or whenever you're connecting from the remote service account, it should be always at least two factor. It should be enforced with a two-factor authentication or multiple authentication. And then we can deny the direct remote access to internal systems by network proxies, gateways, and the firewalls. Okay, so these are some use cases that we saw in relation to Mitre attack framework. And now we will see how Mitre can work as a reference model. So we can plan our security strategy based upon the attack framework, because it contains all the possible tactics and techniques that are used by the attacker. So we can also see the recommendations for each kind of attack types in the Mitre database, and we can make sure that we are using that recommendations we are while building our network security. So for example, for phishing email, they have mentioned that you need to implement a strong antivirus or anti-malware. So we can inculcate that recommendation in our organization, and we can implement antivirus or anti-malware on the endpoint devices. So this is how it can act as a reference model for each kind of attacks. So attack is a reference for incident response team as well. So IR team can use the attack to determine the nature of the threats that you are dealing with and the methods to mitigate the threat. So here the methods of mitigation will also be mentioned in the Mitre attack database. So IR team can use attack as a reference for new cybersecurity threats and plan ahead. So it is not like the techniques are limited. So every now and then the attackers will be discovering new techniques, new tactics to perform an attack. So the Mitre attack framework database will be always up to date, like it is going to make its observation on a real time basis, and it is going to keep its database updated. So to make sure that even we are updated, we should always make sure that we are using this as a reference model, wherein we can get the details of even new techniques and tactics that are used by the attacker. So attack can also help assess overall cybersecurity strategy and close any gaps that are being discovered. So if there are any current gaps in our organization, we can discover it using the attack reference model, and then we can patch it immediately. So coming to intent-based approach of our IRT, so it helps the organization to correlate the security incidents and to identify any large scope of attacks. So that is first a major point of the Mitre attack framework. And then it can use an intent-based approach to understand how the organizations are being attacked based upon the operations that are performing. So that is also one thing that we need to consider. We need to know the operations of the organization. So suppose if it is into financial industry, we need to be worrying more about the data breach of the customers or the clients that we have. So it is actually depending upon the organization to organization. And using the security incident response, we can figure out the IOCs of any new attacks. For example, we got to know that APT39 has compromised our one system, and now we can search for the IOCs for that particular threat actor. Whichever previously related IP addresses are there, or else any hash values related to that APT39 threat actor might be there, or any email IDs that it is associated with. Once we get to know that particular threat actor is attacking our organization, we can pull out all the indicators of compromise that are related to that particular threat actor, and then we can immediately block in our security solutions possible. So this is how we can relate it with the Mitre attack. So we can get to know the threat actor profile, and then we can hunt for the indicators of compromises in related to that particular threat actor, and then we can block and make sure that from that particular indicator of compromises we are not able to connect, or we are not able to send any sensitive information to that command and control server. So this is how we can relate it with the IRT and the Mitre attack framework. So by integrating security incident response with Mitre attack framework, we are going to have a huge advantage. So now, coming into Mitre and security operations, so there is one preloaded taxi client. So taxi is nothing but it is something threat intelligence feeds that will be fed to taxi server to ingest the data collection of the threat intelligence. So threat intelligence is basically nothing but we need to be aware about the recent attacks, recent tactics and techniques, and they are called as threat intelligence feeds. So suppose a new malware has been discovered in the market today, so we need to know about the whole like what is the malware, what are the IOCs related to it, what are the techniques that it is performing, what is the attacker doing by using that malware. So that is something called as threat intelligence. It is new to the market, and we are able to discover it, and we are able to get the indicators of compromises of that particular malware. So these threat intel fields will be actually nowadays inbuilt in any SIEM solution, and the taxi is also having the database of Mitre attack framework. So suppose our organization has got an alert that from this IOC or from this IP address we are getting some malicious request. So we have the IP address of that particular attacker. So now what we can do is we can cross verify that IP address with the attack vectors that threat actor profiles that we have in the Mitre attack database. So we can match that is this IOC belong to any threat actor profile. Then what we can do once we get to know the threat actor profile, then we can estimate the techniques that they are going to use. So this is the correlation. If you know the technique, you can figure out the IOCs, and vice versa. If you know the IOC, you can figure out the techniques that they are going to perform. So here we can see in the next slide about this in the next diagram. So here you can see this is the Mitre attack database, and here is the threat intelligence. So it is always sending the threat intelligence field. So if there is any new malware detected or any new attack detected, technique detected, it will be obviously updated in the Mitre attack framework, and that can be treated as a threat intelligence at the first place. So whenever there is any technique that has been identified in our security incident response, it is automatically going to alert our security analyst that this is the technique and this is the IOC that the threat actor is using to compromise your network. So this is how Mitre attack can be integrated with the threat intelligence, wherein it will be updated with the day-to-day new sort of attacks and techniques. So now coming to the benefits of Mitre attack in SOC. So using Mitre attack framework, it can help organization to achieve the following things. So first is the security analyst will be aware of the tactic, techniques and procedures. They are called as TTPs together, and we can analyze in a better manner. Like if we know the tactics, we can analyze in a better manner that this might be the next step of action by the attacker. So we will be aware of all the tactics and techniques that would be performed by the attacker. And we can automate the incident workflow using the playbook and for detecting and containing threats in a context of the Mitre attack framework. And we can also prioritize the indicators of compromise based upon the threat intel we have got from the Mitre attack framework. And we can understand the high-level security posture of our organization in context to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So first of all, we can prioritize the indicators of compromise. We can automate the complete workflow of the incident response, and then we can deal in a very much professional manner whenever we are aware about the tactics, techniques, and procedures of the threat actor. So these are the major benefits of the MITRE ATT&CK in SOC, Security Operations Center. So now coming to the return on investment. So according to the research, it is always said that incident response with the MITRE ATT&CK framework will decrease the time spent. We saw a typical example for that. Like once we get to know the technique, we do not need to move to the next technique and to find the evidence for other techniques. When we already have the evidence for one threat actor compromising our network using certain techniques, we do not need to inspect the same things. Did not need to find the evidence for other techniques or the other threat actors. So it will eliminate the content of time. Like it is going to cut short the whole process, and it is completely eliminate the constraint of the time. So it decreases the time spent on incident intake, assessment, and reporting, and it increases the consistency of the incident management process and outcomes. It reduces the chances of damage to business partnership and brand reputation. So suppose in case of data breach incident has occurred and we do not mitigate in a timely manner, then there will be a lot of reputational damage towards that particular brand. For example, recently Domino's data breach was discovered, and also Air India data breach was discovered, and Volkswagen data breach was discovered. So we will be having a certain impact on those brands. So that is coming into brand reputation part. So we cannot afford the reputation of the brand like to go in a very low manner, or we cannot have that impact on the customers. So this incident response will always reduce the chance of damage to business in terms of brand reputation, and it provides 80% reduction in the time spent on incident intake. It provides 50% reduction in the time spent on incident assessment. It provides 60% reduction in number of incidents requiring integral legal review, and it provides 0.1% in revenue retention due to reduced risk of reputational damage. So these are the return on investment points based upon the research performed by the security researchers. Now coming to key takeaways. So we know that across the globe there are multiple data breaches detected on a day-to-day basis, and they will be having a huge impact on the customers. Be it data breaches or ransomware attacks or any sort of cyber attack, if it is associated with any brand, then it is definitely going to psychologically affect the customer's mindset. So experiencing a data breach or a security incident without a response plan can have costly repercussions, and also it can cause reputational damage and also financial costs. So through the incident response plan, organizations can not only mitigate the damages, but they can also prevent future incidents from occurring. Okay, so using the incident response plan, using the planned strategy, we can mitigate the risk by using this particular framework. And then with the use of of an appropriate incident response plan, your organization will be able to manage cyber incidents confidently. So if we have the procedure, if we have the step-by-step procedure for each sort of attacks, then we will be more confident on executing them. So if we know, like at preparation stage we are supposed to do this, at next identification stage we are supposed to do this, each and everything is described in a proper manner. So whenever an incident occurs, by default we will be more confident to execute that particular incident response plan. So coming to the conclusion, so cyber incident response plan is most vital to any organization, and people from many levels and many departments will be included in developing these strategies and implementation of the incident response. And the most important thing is the plan should be easy to follow for the IRT team, and it should be regularly updated and tested at least once in an once in a year to check the effectiveness of the plan. And if the likelihood of a cyber attack is high, and if company has a proper strategy and strong incident response plan, it can easily and quickly mitigate any damage which can happen in regard to that particular security incident. Okay, so these I got a question, I guess. Hi, is there any way procedure to find or create such use cases which is not in the organization? Darshan, I didn't get your question.
Hello.
Yeah.
So my question is like in one of the slides, I got that there are use cases which we can. I don't know, some fluctuation is there. I'm hearing my own voice. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I'm able to hear you properly. You can continue.
Yeah. Okay. So in the one of the slide,
Yes, Darshan. Purnima,
yes, you are saying something. Shivang is saying something.
yes, Darshan. Purnima can mute her phone microphone, and you can speak now.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. So my question is like in the previous slides, Purnima told that we can reverse engineer whatever the incidents or whatever the alert we got and find out from where the attacker got